Are we ready to go? We are? Okay. So, thanks, Frank. You have an except for you. Go ahead. Okay, all right. Frank, you have a question for us? No, private. Okay, private. Okay, very good. Private question, no problem. Again, 2 minute, 3 30-second questions, and 1 minute question. Right? 1, 2, 3. Go for it, Didacus Ramos.
I'm Didacus Ramos, and I have my piece over here that you can pick up on the way out with a lot of different ideas that I have about being on City Council. For the last 4 years, I've spent on the Economic Development Committee for the city, and my background is an urban planner and an economic development specialist. I worked for the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, the City of Montebello for over 10 years. After that, I've been in the private sector. Look, Hayward is edging towards a precipice. We're edging towards it, we're not running towards it, and for the last 70 years we've been doing that. It's called classic California sprawl, and it's killing us. We need to do something about that, and what I offer as an alternative to it is the village-town concept. Instead of just having Hayward, the central Hayward, with all the sprawl around us, we have developed centers or plazas. And pardon me, I have pneumonia right now, but I'm still alive. So we need plazas or centers around Hayward. So we actually have a total of 5 centers that make up Hayward. All those centers will be places for opportunities that actually create opportunities. Mixed use, so people that don't have houses now don't have to wait for a $700,000 house to become available, but they actually can work themselves into getting a house of their own, a dwelling of their own. This is the place that would be car-free, where people can actually, how much? 30 seconds? Okay. Where children can run free without fear of being run over by a car, and where old people can be everywhere. All right, so that's my ideas. That's the beginning of my ideas, the crux of my ideas, and the paper explains a little bit more about me. Thank you.
Sara Lamnin.
4 years ago, our city was facing a looming budget deficit. Okay, start again. I wasn't sure if I could get out and get around and all that good stuff. Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Sara Lamnin. And 4 years ago, our city was facing a looming deficit. We had a contract dispute. Our infrastructure costs were skyrocketing. As a council member, I fought to increase our transparency and our inclusion, which enabled us to settle our labor dispute. I was the sole no vote on infrastructure projects and other things that would have increased our deficit. Through my leadership with the League of California Cities and the city's Budget and Finance Committee, I've worked to make sure that we have a plan to close our budget deficit in 5 years. 4 years ago, our residents were facing a housing crisis and homelessness, and the city's leadership hadn't begun to understand it, let alone solve it. I fought for housing to be inclusive, affordable, environmentally sustainable, and accessible. I voted for tenant protections and advocated for expanded tools to address neighborhood traffic and homelessness issues. I built bridges to lasting employment and to make sure that our city was as sustainable as possible for everybody in our community. I stand for a plan that allows our city to give the kind of creative and exciting services that all residents of our community deserve, that all residents of our community need. And I intend to do it at a price tag that all of our taxpayers can afford. My name is Sara Lamnin, and I'd be honored to have your endorsement this evening. Thank you.
Mekia.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Mekia. I am originally from Columbus, Ohio. I'm pretty new to California, been here about 4 years. And much like the individual that was on the last committee, we were advised not to move to Hayward, but I'm always up for a good challenge. I see a lot of potential here. I've met a lot of really, really great people, but by and large, I want to bring my professional experience to City Council. I work in human resources, and I've done that for a while, and I have, over time, learned how to assess situations, but also help people reach their goals and understand their potential moving forward. If I get the opportunity to be part of City Council, I will definitely work on whether it's just bringing more higher paying, viable jobs here, or helping to expand with companies that are currently in the city. I will also like to help with the housing situation. In my current, well, previously, I volunteered with Habitat for Humanity, and that was a very good resource to help residents get involved with building out their own facilities and their own homes and lowering the cost as well. So if given the opportunity, I would definitely like to propose that idea to just give the residents of Hayward an opportunity to be part of what's happening on a day-to-day basis and to help lower the costs doing through while hopefully increasing your wages on a regular basis. Please vote for me, Mekia Fields. Thank you.
Marvin Peixoto.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marvin Peixoto, and for the past 8 years, I've had the honor and privilege of serving as your Hayward City Council member. I am a Hayward native. I was born in Hayward Hospital. I come from 4 generations of Portuguese Americans that hail from the La Vista area of South Hayward. I received both of my degrees from Cal State Hayward, and I'm proud to have the name Hayward displayed on both of those diplomas. You know, there's a lot going on in Hayward. If you've been driving around town, you've seen a lot of construction, and we are building a lot. And one of the projects that I voted for that I'm very proud of is the Hayward 21st Century Library. And we're going to open that up this October 27th. We're going to have a grand opening. I hope you're all able to attend. But we're not just building libraries in Hayward. We're building housing. And we're working very aggressively to address this housing dilemma, this housing crunch that is pervasive throughout the Bay Area in San Francisco. And so we've decided that what we're going to do is we're no longer going to accept in lieu fees, or we jack them up to a portion where it's just impossible for developers to use them. We are going to move to on-site affordable housing. One of the projects we have is right down the street here at Maple and Main. 48 of those units are set aside for low income. And what's that mean? If you're a family of 1, the qualifying income is $34,000. If you're a family of 4, it's $48,000. So we've done a lot of other things too with your help under Measure C. We've been able to hire more police and more fire.
That's it.
It's very hard to see that.
So raise it higher and wave it.
You want to wave it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Aisha Wahab.
Get the best.
So hi, my name is Aisha Wahab. I am running for Hayward City Council, and I am last on the ballot, so remember me first. With that being said, the reason why I'm running for Hayward City Council is because I believe in strong leadership. I believe in people, and I believe in housing for all people at all income levels. That is why I'm running. Now I will tell you this, I have always been seen as an outsider since I was a foster care child before I could tie my own shoes. Now I have relied on the community much more than many other people have ever relied on the community. And I will say why it is important to expand our safety nets for seniors on fixed incomes like my father, for working young millennials and new families that want to make a life in Hayward that can't. And I want to make sure that we develop partnerships with all agencies rather than having these problems with these interagencies. And I believe in a regional reputation where instead of the people that were saying that, you know, it was tough to move to Hayward, people were advising against us to do that, that we actually say Hayward is a leader in this region. Hayward is a leader in housing, and Hayward is a leader for people. That is why I'm running. I want to definitely be the voice of the people. And I will tell you this, don't let looks fool you. I have been named San Francisco Business Times most influential woman in Bay Area business last year. I am Cal State East Bay's 40 under 40 this year. I was featured as one of the leaders in the resistance in San Francisco Magazine. I am for the people, my track record proves it, and I also have the endorsement of our own Assemblymember Bill Quirk. Thank you.
Joe Ramos.
Where there is no vision, the people perish. That's what this city's about. It's got no vision. So I'm here not to ask for your vote. There's a few people in here that may or may not like me. That's up to you. You either like the same thing the way it is, the same old, and if you do, vote for Marvin or Sara. I'm not going to talk about anybody else, but we need change. You know, so I'm right now debating, am I going to go for Mark Salinas for mayor or the present mayor? I haven't decided yet. You might have my vote, Mark. I'm telling you right now that we definitely need leadership. Because I want to ask you a question. Who's responsible for the fire chief that was caught drunk on duty and they didn't fire him? Who's responsible for the developers that come in here and give them money? So how can they vote impartially and they got money they've been funded? I'm not going to tell you who it is, but there's a couple of them sitting at the table. You know who I'm talking about? If your name is, what's your name, sir? What's your first name, sir? Didacus. I never heard of a name like that, but I have nothing against you, sir. What's your name?
Mekia Fields.
Mekia, all right? So you decide for yourself. Marvin, you're a good guy, but I want to get rid of two of the incumbents. I want you to help me. If you like the stuff mediocre and everything, then vote for these two. Okay? Sarah's been here for a long time. It's time to give her a boot. I'm going to tell you a quick story for the end. When I was at the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and I have several degrees. I don't have a PhD, I got 4 master's degrees. That's not too bad from a guy from the city of Chicago, West Side. I've got a degree in urban studies. So unlike the urban planner there, I have studied this city. I've worked in Chicago, I've worked in Milwaukee, and the last place in San Francisco for a gang project. Anytime you see me on Monday, you ask me, Joe, what would you do this weekend? I told you, I was in jail!
Time.
And the reason I was in jail is because I worked as a volunteer in jail. Party there.
Everybody remember Joe Ramos was in jail.
What will you do to include the special needs citizens to be added in all developments to also stay independent and working? So we will begin with Sara.
I love this question. Thank you, whoever asked it. So my father was a vocational rehab counselor for 30 years, which means that he found work for people who had no more control of their bodies and the ability to breathe. I learned at his knee about the value of all of human beings. And I have championed accessible housing, even housing built by universal design standards, since I was on the Planning Commission, which, by the way, was only 4 years ago. So I believe in the opportunity, creating opportunities for people, creating the opportunity for everybody to work. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I would first work with making the majority of items that people use on an everyday basis ADA compliant. But when you break that out, you have to understand that there are a lot of categories that fall under that title. For instance, we have children and adults with autism, and helping them find employment where there are repetitive things going on to help them stay engaged is something that I would stand for and support. I've seen it happen. I've seen it be a proven measure, and it's a way to help business owners as well.
Marvin.
Thank you. Well, we've already really done a lot in a number of the projects to accommodate not just the elderly, but the independent. One of them is the Haymont project, right across from Holy Sepulchre Cemetery. I'm going to do all I can to ensure that our inclusionary housing includes components for the independent, for the people who are to be independent, and for our seniors as well. We've got a number of projects that are set up for seniors, which are independent. One of them. Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
Aisha.
So my father has health problems. We live on the first floor of our apartment complex. And to be completely honest with you, disability you don't really understand it until it really affects you and your family. So with that being said, with all the trials and tribulations we've faced with, I honestly believe that we just need to incorporate ADA compliance in a lot of different planning that we do. So for example, we have a disabled parking about a block away from our home that's assigned to us. That doesn't work. We need to plan better.
Thank you. Joe, please.
As a former special ed teacher, these issues are very interesting. When I was at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, they had a city project where every new building or addition had to have some kind of modification. In the church I attended, we had to build a modification for the handicapped. One day, we got somebody in a wheelchair. So we told them, thank you for coming. We spent $20,000 on that rent. What is going to happen? I don't know. I'd have to study this more. So I will look into it. I will get more informed. That's the best I can give you right now.
Thank you, Joe. Didacus.
Okay, yeah, I'm involved in there too. All right, so look, we're talking about inclusion here. And what we've heard is ways of separating people out and putting them in different corners to deal with their particular issues. A special house for this person, a special house for that person. What we need is inclusion. What we need is everywhere that we're at to already have those things. What we need is when our child has a special needs, that the neighborhood knows about them. When I was growing up, every kid in the neighborhood was known by every parent in that neighborhood. I couldn't cross town without somebody saying, "You're Joe Ramos's boy." That was it.
Thank you. Okay, question number 2. Do you support or not Measure T to increase the city's real property transfer tax and why? Mekia.
Thank you. I love going first on questions like this. Short answer, yes, I do. I'm a homeowner myself. I feel like it's important for us all to play our part in giving back. This measure will support the police, and in supporting them, it can help them with community policing, making them an everyday name, and also helping the citizens be familiar with their surroundings, and it's a safety effort for both parties altogether.
Thank you. Marvin.
Thank you. I absolutely support it, and I voted for it. You know, about a year ago, I talked to Diane McDermott, who works for Fremont Bank, and she told me, and she said, you know, Marvin, you need to do something about this RPTT because you have the lowest one, and I see all these homes coming through. You have the lowest one in Alameda County. Do something about it. I'm in favor of Measure T.
Thank you. Aisha.
I do support it. I do not support regressive tax measures, and this is one that I do believe that actually puts us on the playing field with other individuals and other cities. So I do support it because we definitely need it.
Joe.
It's real easy to answer. If Marvin voted yes, I vote no. If Sarah votes yes, I vote no. What we need to do is you need to balance your budget. You need to balance your checkbook. The checkbook is out of control. So I'd have to study this. The answer is no.
Thank you, Joe. Didacus.
All right. No, I vote yes. Now look, a lot of what we're talking about is, again, separation and division. A lot of what we're talking about is expenses that come because of the way the city is organized, because of the way the city has been constructed. If we change the construction, a lot of these debts and obligations go away. If we actually if you see a planned community, and a planned community, the city does not do the streets in the planned community. The planned community does those streets. If you look at different examples that we have around the world, we find that we can be part of an inclusive society, and that's the way we lower our debts and our obligations.
Thank you. Sarah?
So yes, I did vote yes. I do support this measure. And when I said earlier about having a plan that allows us to close our budget deficit in 5 years, this is a component. But it's also the reason that I've been in Sacramento testifying with the League of California Cities at CalPERS to control our pension and healthcare costs. When I started that work, I was the only elected official in the room. There's now a full conference that has hundreds of people coming together to work collaboratively to solve these issues for the long term. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 3. Can you speak to the 3 main issues facing Hayward, and how would you address at least one of them? All right, and we'll start with Marvin.
Right, I've also included this in my closing argument here. But there are 3 things that I would focus on going forward. Number 1, we have got to aggressively address this housing crisis that confronts us and other Bay Area cities. Number 2, we've got to get a hold of our budget and bring our budget reserves back up to the 20% level that this council approved. And number 3, we've got to give our police and our firefighters the tools that they need to do their job well.
Aisha?
So I think that it's very obvious that we do have a problem with the budget. I think that we just need to reassess a lot of what we do. The number 2, but for me, number 1, is housing. We have been approving, based on our regional housing needs assessment, at a rate of 7% for low-income housing and 187% for moderate income housing. That is my number 1 problem. That is my number 1 thing that I want to address. And then I definitely want to work with other agencies to definitely invest in this city.
Thank you. Joe?
In this case, I agree with the majority of them. The first priority we have is housing. If we don't watch what's going to happen, we're going to have a new face of people here. They're not going to look how they look now. There's not going to be any working class people, because it's going to be too expensive to live here. The second one is rent control. But number 3, which I haven't heard mentioned, but I agree with Marvin, is I want to get rid of that loop. That loop is a waste of money and time. So if you like the loop, then vote for somebody else. I want to get rid of that. Are you still trying to oppose that?
Yes, I
As my card says, as my card says, economy, community, and opportunity. Those are my 3 legs that I stand on. And that's what I think we have to focus on. We need a vision for the city, and those are part of my vision. Economy, we want to include as many people as we can in the economy that we're not including now. We're excluding people at a record rate. Community, we have to strengthen our communities, and we do that by changing the design of our communities so that they can actually function. And opportunity, we need opportunities that create opportunities, not just jobs, not just the wages, but actual opportunities.
Thank you, Didacus. Sarah?
So top 3 issues, well, I could say housing. I will also say fiscal responsibility and safety. And I'll talk a little bit about safety because you've heard a lot about the others already. So for safety, when I say that, I mean that we have a police force that is culturally competent and trained in trauma-informed care. That our traffic in our neighborhoods goes slowly enough. That the traffic through our arterials runs smoothly enough. That our roads are smooth, that our public transit is easily accessible. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
My top 3 would be the budget, after-school programs, and retail. I say the budget because just like with your household, you're not going to go anywhere, you're not going to get anything done if your checkbook doesn't balance. But after school, I am big on education. I have 3 children of my own, and I know from experience having solid education and after-school programs that provide a safety net for children to do homework is a good place.
Thank you. All right. Very good. So the questions, you probably have more questions. They are more than happy to answer your questions at the outside courtyard once we are finished. Good? You are?
Yes.
Yes, very good. Okay, we are now on the closing statements. We'll start with Mr. Ramos.
This is 1 minute.
1 minute.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Not quite.
You're not.
Okay.
Ready? 1 minute.
I think Mrs. Zermeño, thank you, Mark, for having the balls to run for mayor. Now we're going to find out if you can win it. I might even vote for you. So what we talk about is we got housing, we have, what else we have? We have the issue of rent control, and we got about that darn loop. There's a few more I could talk about, but I don't have enough time. So I ask for your support. For those of you who want change, it's about change. Just like Didacus said, it's a change and opportunity. For those who want to be the same old, then vote for Sara, then vote for Marvin. It'll be the same old. Won't be nothing new. They'll be taking money from developers, and you know where they live. Woo!
Thank you. All right, Aisha.
So again, my name is Aisha Wahab. I am begging you for a vote for me. I'm last on the ballot one more time. And I will say that I have not taken any money from developers. I have not taken any money from corporations. And we are the top fundraising candidate. We're also followed by KQED. I will say that housing is my #1 issue because everyone deserves to have a roof over their head. And that is why I'm running for Hayward City Council. I want to protect the environment. I want to bring in new businesses, but I want somebody to feel comfortable in the city, to live and sleep in the city with a roof over their head. That is my message. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for participating in this democratic process. I already mentioned my 3 priorities, but since people have brought up the budget, that is a very serious issue. We have $104 million in unfunded liability, and we need to take care of it. 96% unfunded, most of that being retiree medical coverage. So we've got to take care of that. We're doing well now on the pension control. We've got our employees contributing, but we need to address medical coverage. And then finally, we need to give our police and our fire the continued tools and resources they need to protect us. If we do that, we can make this the great city it deserves to be.
Mekia.
Thank you again for coming out tonight. Again, Mekia Fields like green grass fields. Again, I am not a Hayward native, but I've grown to love the area, the city, and all of the people that I've met thus far. I enjoyed the challenge again, but I want your takeaway to be employment, education, and enjoyment. Yes, we need jobs, but we also need to enjoy ourselves. We need to enjoy our families. We need to enjoy our lives. We done still 30. Okay. Retail is something that I stand behind. And just from coming from other areas, and it's something I definitely want to incorporate in the landscape here in Hayward. I want to make sure that it is an enjoyable place for all of us to grow and learn about each other and to raise our families and to come to this point again. Mekia Fields.
Sara, please.
Thank you to the Hayward Area Democratic Club. Thank you to all of you for your patience tonight, for your tolerance of the heat, and most importantly, for your careful consideration of your endorsement vote this evening. 25 years ago, I chose Hayward, and I choose it again every day. This is a great place to live and work and thrive, and I'm eager to continue that work. So I ask for your vote to help make sure that we can do that work, to join with state elected officials like Betty Yee, federal officials like Congressman Swalwell, labor unions, business owners, our residents, and even some of you, to make sure that we continue this work. So, my name is Sara Lamnin, and I'm honored to be your city council member. Thank you.
125 years ago, my great-grandfather chose Hayward. It was a small town. Our farm ran from C Street to Orchard Avenue, from railroad track to railroad track. 1,000 acres of apricots that he bought from the Meek family. All right, we've been here for a while, but whether you've been here as long or longer than my family, or you just got here today, that's not the issue. The issue is access. How much access you have to the goods and services that you need to live your life full measure. That's what we're talking about, and that's not what we're getting. We're getting separation, we're getting division. What we need is a place that is Hayward. There has to be a there. And that's what we need to build. That's what we need to make. That's what we need to work for. And we need the vision to see that for ourselves, for our children, for our children's grandchildren's children. That's what I'm about.
The candidates, thank you for being a good audience and good participants. The questions were very interesting. All right. And the audience, thank you all. So make yourself available outside for some further questions. 5-minute break. Go ahead.